One of our contributors here at CBS is joining us, I think, by phone. At CBS News consultant and former deputy director of the Secret Service, A.T. Smith. A.T., I know you've been following the latest reporting here as well. Our Nicole Skanga says that the shooter was about 200 to 300 feet away using an AR-style rifle. Does that sound right to you in terms of the kind of the firing of the bullets didn't sound very rapid? You had one eyewitness tell us, no, it sounded like a 22. What does this description of the weapon allegedly used here indicate to you?
Yes, I think probably it was 200 to 300 yards instead of feet. 200 to 300
yards.
Yeah, it sounds like that, this individual was at least that far away, and an AR-style rifle can obviously hit a target or make that sort of a shot from that distance. Usually from that distance, there would be optics involved, like a scope, and, usually a more accurate shot would be something like a high-powered rifle, like you think in terms of a deer rifle or something like a 30-06 or a 223. But it's still obviously too early to make those sorts of calls, but clearly an AR type rifle from that distance, as long as he had, the visual, has the ability to strike a target. Now, obviously, it's still undetermined how many rounds were fired, but the answer to your question on that one is yes, it could actually do that.
So the audio, when you hear that tape playback, and that's what we're going by, it didn't sound like a high-powered rifle, but you are saying at a distance of 200 to 300 yards, you would be able to take a shot like that and do so undetected by Secret Service?
Well, that is the part that, will obviously have to become clear in the investigation. And, my understanding is this individual was killed by the counter-sniper team or the counter-sniper agents there. The unknown is exactly what happened there. Did they not see him, or, was there some visual obstruction? All of that will have to be looked at. But the reason that, you have a counter-sniper team in place is for this type of a situation where you have a long-range gunman. And if, in fact, that was the case, they obviously did take him out. But, again, it certainly wasn't soon enough.
Well, if I'm looking at the log here of events that our producers did, just playing back the tape, it looks like at 6:11, the first Secret Service officer rushed in, and then at 6:12, we hear people yelling, "Shooters down." So what would that indicate to you about just how obvious a position this individual was in? And how is it that if they could act that quickly, that they didn't know ahead of time that there was that kind of vulnerability?
I can't really answer that. That's, again, something that will have to come out. But that's part of their responsibility, is to be, panning the area, if you will. I mean, they have long-range binoculars, long-range rifles themselves. Yeah. And, maybe the individual was just camouflaged in such a way that he wasn't able to be seen until he started firing. So there is a number of questions that need to be answered, I guess, before we can say that. But by the same token, you did see that the Secret Service agents reacted in the way that they're trained every way to do, in terms of, covering the protectee. They clearly checked him medically. That's why they didn't leave the stage any quicker than they did, to make sure that, there was not other injuries that they would exacerbate by pulling him off stage. And you clearly saw the counter-assault team, which is a different team, get into place, and they're covering those agents while they're taking care of the former president, and then ultimately got him to the armored limousine.
And in a situation like this, what is the security protocol for other high-value, potential high-value targets, frankly, other high-ranking former or current officials? What's happening around the country right now, both to members of the elected leaders' families, but also lawmakers themselves?
Well, all of the security around anyone with protection is going to be enhanced, I think, over the next few hours, simply because of this, because you want to find out if there's more, than a lone gunman situation here, if you have, multiple individuals. So a lot of that will have to be assessed over a period of hours or days with the intelligence. But I can assure you that all of the protection around protectees, whether it's Secret Service protectees, Capitol Hill with, members of Congress, that is all being increased as we speak. And I think, obviously, it's already become pretty obvious from the other reporting, Major Garrett and so forth, about Milwaukee and how heightened that has become in the last few hours. So everything will be increased. There's no doubt in the coming hours and, for the coming week, particularly with the convention.
Just based on these initial details and the forensics so far, is it your assessment that this was a skilled shooter, someone who had gone through training?
It's hard to say what sort of training he may have had, but certainly, someone didn't just go out and buy a rifle of this type this afternoon. My guess would be, and it's simply a guess, that it is someone who had, developed some sort of a skill set, had probably practiced, gone to a range, and, all of that will be figured out later on. But to have this kind of an incident, to take this kind of a shot from this kind of distance would indicate to me that it's somebody that's very familiar with the firearm.
Mm-hmm. And we know that the ATF is trying to run forensics on all those details of the weapon with an urgent trace at this hour. Thank you for your analysis. It is because it's coming up on 9:30 right now. We want to just remind you of what we do know at this hour. It is 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West. And we are in continuous breaking news because of the significance of the events of the past few hours. You are seeing here Donald Trump, who was injured in a shooting as his campaign rally was underway in the key swing state of Pennsylvania, battleground state. The former president said tonight in a statement on social media that he is okay, but that he was, quote, shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. Sources tell CBS News that this is being investigated by the Secret Service. The Secret Service has confirmed that they are working with the FBI and treating this as an attempted assassination of a candidate. The shooter who carried out this attack was shot and killed by the Secret Service. And we know that sources are telling CBS News that the gunman was on a shed using an AR-style rifle when these multiple shots were fired. And as you can see there, Donald Trump standing up, defiantly raising his arm. He mouthed what looked like the word fight as he was able to walk off the stage with the help of all those agents who are surrounding him and helping him get carried off. But you can see there that trickle of red behind his right ear. And that is where the injury we just described to you apparently took place.